Thank you, George. Hello, everybody, and thanks for joining us today. This is a great opportunity for us to talk about our experience of delivering VDI and how we do this through a collaborative partnership model, both with other people from Tech Community and partners in the channel, but also in collaboration with Fujitsu as a key vendor in our relationships. As I say, this is not a technical session, but for those of you who do want to ask something clever, one of my colleagues, our architect James King, is on the call, so please feel free to ask anything in depth should you want to and really test him out. So it's not going to be death by PowerPoint, I hope. I also appreciate that not everybody's first language is English, so I'm grateful to you for your patience. Let me just kick off the session by letting you know it's going to be broken down into the sections that you can see there to talk about what the opportunity is around VDI, how we can make it a success, and how we've been able to achieve that by collaborative partnership. Questions I'll be able to answer at the end. So a little bit about us, who the Cutter Group is, who we are, and what we do. We are a virtualization specialist, focusing on our desktop expertise as a primary driver in this. We have a long-standing reputation, a business that's been around for 11 years and very much focused on end-user computing and virtualization on the desktop. We're headquartered in the UK, but we do have subsidiaries in Europe, one based in the Netherlands, which looks after our mainland Europe business, and a subsidiary in Cyprus, which is the hub for our Middle Eastern and African business. We're currently working across EMEA, many of those relationships backed by Fujitsu as a partner, and we are looking to continue to grow that as more and more people come into our ecosystem looking for our skills and expertise. As a virtualization specialist on the desktop, we have an extensive track record, both in terms of the number of deployments and number of desktops that we have deployed and now manage, but also you can see multiple sectors that we're covering. Many of the clients come to us because of that sector experience. We've seen a lot of the challenges that face those sectors and can head many of those issues that they are going to face in their desktop environments off before it becomes a challenge too far for them. It's also important for us to highlight that our relationship with Fujitsu is a very strategic one. We were lucky enough to be the Select Awards Best Newcomer in EMEA winner last year. It's a relatively new relationship for us, and Fujitsu is just one of many partners that we use in vendor world. We are vendor agnostic, but one of the things I'll talk about as to why the Fujitsu relationship is very special to us and has delivered maximum value both ways. So, the VDI opportunity, what does the landscape look like at the moment? Gartner published a report a couple of years ago now, having done some analysis, saying that only 5% of the world's desktops had been virtualized, which means that there's 95 still to go. Now, obviously, it's not going to be appropriate that all of the world's desktops become virtualized, but it gives you a kind of scale of where the potential is in this market. We're seeing increasingly across all sectors that the VDI uptake is accelerating. It's now accepted in many markets and vertical sectors that this is mature technology. It's no longer the new kid on the block, and there is mainstream uptake, particularly sectors like government, public sector, and education have led the way in taking up VDI and making it a real success. The capability around the technology has also accelerated, particularly in the last couple of years, where you would have seen VDI being completely excluded from environments where 3D modeling and CAD/CAM, for example, were used. Now, with technologies like NVIDIA's grid cards, that makes VDI much more accessible to a wider range of computing requirements and makes a VDI solution penetrate much deeper into an opportunity and into a customer. The cost of the technology is falling. The foot race between a PC-based environment on a refresh versus A VDI installation that is obviously infrastructure focused has always been a battle of cost, the price per desktop. As the capability of the hardware underpinning the solution increases and the cost comes down, particularly we've seen that in the storage layer, then actually the price per desktop for a VDI deployment is very close to reaching parity with PC environments, even in the smaller size deployments of a couple of hundred. The larger scale VDI deployments benefit from that economy of scale, and when you're into the multiple thousands, actually that parity becomes much more close and a more compelling argument from a cost basis at the moment. And it's virtualization on the desktop is part of the wider trend of virtualizing everything. Virtualization can and has become a bit of a buzzword, but actually when done properly, it can deliver real benefits by maximizing and optimizing the use of infrastructures across all of those key areas. So why are people wanting to look at VDI? We believe that there are multiple reasons for doing this, and it's incredibly rare to find a customer or an environment wants to look at virtualization for one of these in isolation. Each of these will have a different emphasis depending on the challenges that that environment faces. Device independence is a key one, greater flexibility both in the support provided by a central IT function. Having to look after multiple thousands of PCs is a huge resource drain, but also user preferences. You might have people, and this tends to feature quite heavily in education environments, that giving the users the freedom to use any device that they choose and they're comfortable and happy with, but access to the same desktop and applications that are necessary for them to either work or learn or perform whatever functions are necessary has driven bring your own device environments and increasing challenges on working practices around the globe with transport infrastructure and costs of real estate. Then flexible and home and remote working are becoming key priorities for many environments in multiple sectors. Security and data management have always featured highly, but this seems to be accelerating as people acquire and businesses acquire more data, and people want to abuse that more and more, as we see in the world going forward. Then security and data management is also fundamental. By divorcing the desktop and the compute capability away from the device, putting it into a secure data center environment, and just having whatever device, thin client, tablet, as a window onto that data, increases the security of the data and the applications underneath it. Managing these environments, managing any desktop environment, can be incredibly costly and time consuming. And the flexibilities that a virtual environment bring to this are quite significant. It can help particularly with multi-site, and when I talk about multi-site, that's not necessarily just different buildings in the same city, but different cities in the same country, and obviously international environments. The resourcing required to underpin that is also very different to the conventional PC world. Having 1,000 PCs is like having to manage 1,000 mini servers. By consolidating that into the data center, it changes the requirement for both technical and human resources and can make great efficiencies. The business agility that brings to an organization as well, to upscale and downscale its requirements, and also to move quickly in the provisioning, gives it a much more competitive advantage in a fast-moving world. Power saving, that does have a knock-on impact onto cost, as we talk about in the sustainability point there. The cost I haven't highlighted as a separate section in its own right, because actually there's a lot of misunderstanding around the costs of VDI, people thinking it's going to save them huge amounts of money. And whilst there are cost benefits that will manifest over the longer term, the initial deployment of VDI is not a reason to look at for cost saving. But by centralizing into the data center, taking power away from PCs and compute power on the desktop, excuse me, can deliver significant power savings and therefore cost savings. By using less power, the ecological benefits of a virtualized environment are also quite significant, and drivers around targets, both corporate and governmental, and the environmental responsibility are also drivers for these. As I say, it's usually a combination of these factors that are reasons why people are looking to virtualize on the desktop rather than just one in isolation. The challenges and pitfalls around VDI still exist, and many of these have been reasons why it's still only 5% of the world's desktops that are virtualized, but this is accelerating quite rapidly now. VDI, and certainly getting VDI right, is complex. It's a very different technology to other virtual environments, so many businesses, in fact many of you may be familiar with virtualizing server environments, but the architectural requirements and pressures on a VDI deployment are very, very different, and people often make the mistake that they think the same principles apply. As I alluded to before, there is still a significant capital expenditure on a VDI environment. You're replacing a server environment, re-architecting a solution, which from day one often is more expensive than a PC refresh for the same number of desktops. But as I say, if you look at it strategically, then it can provide cost savings in the longer term. Microsoft licensing, sometimes on a good day it can make you smile, on others it can make you tear your hair out. You can ask Microsoft the same question 5 times of 5 different people about what licensing is required for a VDI environment, and you'll get 5 different answers. You could probably ask one person 5 times on 5 different days and still get 5 different answers. And this is an area which is an inhibitor to people looking to virtualize their environments. And we always encourage people, customers and partners like yourselves, to work very closely with their license providers to achieve the kind of stability around Microsoft licensing that's required. In the wider context, other applications that you're looking to put into that virtual environment can also be a challenge, less systemic than the Microsoft problem, but sometimes legacy applications are not licensed or geared to licensing in virtualized environments. So you need to be mindful of those kind of challenges. Lack of customer understanding. A lot of customers have heard about VDI, know a little bit about virtualization, but don't really understand exactly what it is and how it works. And there are many misconceptions. And a lot of the work that we do is managing the customer's expectations and understanding of the technology and what it can actually do for them. Driving further into the customer environment, you have the user community, who is terribly important in any technology, but no more so than delivery of desktops and applications that are attached to them. The my PC mentality. Everybody wants to have photos of their family on their own desktop, and they believe that despite it being a corporate asset that's been paid for by the company, it's their PC and they can do what they want with it. Virtualization can be a really powerful tool for companies and IT administrators to take back some of that control and eliminate some of the problems that user chaos brings to the desktop environment. Specialist working practices can also be a challenge for VDI. Whilst the capability of the technology has accelerated massively and continues to do so, sometimes VDI simply isn't right for specialist areas and applications to work. The existing infrastructure is also something that needs to be considered. There are different pressures, particularly on the network for a VDI environment, which will be very different to that of an existing infrastructure using PC-based, which is why it's important that the understanding and analysis of VDI environments to make them successful is done right at the outset. So as technology providers, as you are as resellers of technology and solution delivery partners, excuse me, what does this mean to you? We are experiencing, and I'm sure you are too, that many more customers are actually actively requesting VDI or the benefits of virtualization if they're not aware of VDI as a technology itself. The challenge that they're finding around that is many partners around the globe lack the capability to really take them on that journey and deliver an optimized VDI solution to meet their requirements. The security of customer relationships for partners who don't have those skills and customers who are asking for this technology immediately puts you under threat. However, it's worth noting that customers do understand, and in an increasingly varied technological world, that they understand that their incumbent IT resellers and partners are not going to be experts in all areas, and they are open and amenable to using specialist providers in this, and this has been our experience, and I'll go on to talk about how this has driven our business and our relationship with Fujitsu as to delivering a specialist section of technology alongside other partners. There are a large number of opportunities out there. If you take away the Gartner report, actually, if you looked through your customer base, anywhere that has over 100 network desktops, and whether that be on a single site or multiple, it doesn't matter, should be having a conversation about their desktop strategy and how that can be delivered more efficiently. So I would imagine that many of you could look at your customer base, and if you're not already having conversations with them about VDI or alternative ways of delivering desktop computing, then you should be and could be. The technology itself is one which is a land and expand technology. Very rarely does this technology go in right across a whole organization. It will usually be in one department, one building, a head office. So the technology has an opportunity to bed in. Invariably, though, it will expand to further parts of the organization, and also as the technology improves, there are improvements and evolutions that can be made. So for looking at long-term relationships with customer base, it's a great technology to build that embedded trust and position yourselves as that trusted advisor and incumbent supplier. To say the opportunity for growth is there by wrapping up your customers in a greater level of service. It not only protects them, but also cements that relationship going forward. The profitability of desktop, and we firmly believe this because this is what we do and we've built our business on it, is it is highly profitable, and I'm very pleased to say that that's our experience. It's important to remember that desktop VDI is not a desktop project. It's all about the infrastructure that underpins it, and getting that architecture and infrastructure right is crucial to success. But also when you think of that in the context of what that means as a reseller of technology, there's an awful lot of hardware that needs to underpin this, and that can create great profitability. But also, it's a conversation that fits into the wider IT strategy of any environment. It's not done in isolation. So think about other aspects that tie into this. There is always going to be a need for more traditional PC or laptop environments, but things like terminal services can be a delivery mechanism of desktop computing, as well as wider, like remote access and two-factor authentication. There are lots of opportunities that spin around this. So how do we make a success of VDI? Firstly, it's important to look at why VDI projects fail, and a lot of our work is taken up by rescuing projects that are failing or struggling, and we can pinpoint many of the reasons to those shown on the slide here. The expectation management around VDI, what it can do, how it can operate, and where it fits is crucial, and that management of the customer is probably more important than anyone else. So delivering a VDI solution is, you could argue, it's 50% technical expertise and 50% expectation management in the customer. And that goes on to these other areas of failing to understand the end user requirements. If the customer's not sure what the solution can deliver, and we as partners haven't sat down with the customer to understand what they're wanting it to achieve and how they're wanting it to deliver the computing experience, it's going to fail. Too often people think it's just a desktop project that you can pick a bunch of servers, a white paper-based architecture that VMware has designed, and then just go and sell them a load of hardware. That's a guaranteed failure. The expectation that VDI will solve all of their desktop problems, and actually that it will fit everywhere in an organization, is a real myth as well. In our experience, whilst it varies quite widely, I would say that we would experience VDI looking after maybe between 60 to 80%, so an average of 70% of a computing environment on a reasonably sized deployment, rather than being 100%. Obviously, there are always exceptions to that rule, and it can vary quite widely, but don't expect VDI to solve all problems in an organization. I've already talked about the cost implications and the financials that go behind a VDI solution. And again, we experience a lot of overzealous salespeople, both in vendor world, from hardware, software, and within other resellers that talk to customers about putting VDI in will save them huge amounts of money. And the expectation is that that will save money from day one. It won't. Invariably, most of the time, it will cost more. However, it can save money and deliver cost savings over that long term. And it's important that a strategic plan and understanding is in place with that customer. It goes back to that first point of managing the customer's expectations around cost, performance, and capability will make VDI a success. Not having a clearly defined outcome, this hinges around the proof of concept exercise, which we say is absolutely mandatory in any VDI project. Not having a proof of concept and demonstrating the capability of the technology or understanding where it's not going to work will guarantee that failure. Having a customer's attention, always good if you can get them to pay for POC work because it means they've invested financially and focuses their mind. We appreciate it doesn't always work like that, but if you can grab the attention by building relationships within the customer so that you have internal champions of the technology and the project, will give you a much greater degree of success. Be aware that VDI is disruptive technology, despite it being mature now. It changes the resourcing requirements of a business, it changes the opportunities and working practices within a business, and people within that environment can feel threatened. For example, if you have a multi-thousand PC environment, all of a sudden, all of those desktop engineers who spend their time in vans driving around fixing people's PCs and doing updates and patches, all of a sudden don't need to do that, and actually the skills that they have around the PC management are very different to those to manage the same virtual environment in the data center. So your IT manager might feel very threatened for him and his staff about VDI and what it does to his team and the numbers of people he has in his team, and that can create internal political challenges. So again, it's about being engaged properly with the customer, really understanding their expectations, their needs, their drivers, and who the internal champions are around that. And lastly, the lack of technical skills around VDI and end-user computing create problems in their delivery. One of the reasons why we've developed our deep relationship with Fujitsu and other partners is that people need top-level expertise to make these projects a success. It's a solution, it's not a product, despite what our friends from around the vendor community will tell us. We as resellers are in a privileged position that customers look to us to tell them what the right solution is. Vendors, and I have this conversation with our friends throughout Fujitsu, are in a disadvantaged position that actually the trust in vendors doesn't exist because everybody tells customers that their technology is the best thing for them. And actually customers are really sick of hearing that one technology is better than the next man, and next week another competitor comes in and tells them that theirs is better. They really struggle to trust vendors in that, which is why our position and your position is crucial in this relationship, that actually we are the people that customers trust to tell them what technology and what solutions are right for their environment. So Fujitsu have recognized this, which is a real benefit for a tier 1 global super corporation, that they understand that the value of the channel and partners in the delivery of solutions to customers is fundamental. It's not about trying to sell products, because that simply won't work. Citrix found this with the VDI in a box solution, which is obviously end of life now, because they found that actually, as we told them it did, it's one size fits none, because they're trying to productize something which can only be a solution. So beware peddlers of snake oil who tell you that their VDI platform is best, their hardware element is best, and that they can solve every customer's problem. Be aware, as I said, that it is disruptive technology, and it requires careful management to ensure that customers buy into what's going on and don't think it as a threat and want to stick with the inertia of PC-based computing. Do understand that the technology has limitations, although it is accelerating, and being at the forefront of understanding what that is means that you can deliver the best advice to your clients about the right solutions for them, or actually whether they should even do it at all. And we turn away many, many customers that we could very easily sell a VDI solution or desktop solution to, that it's simply not right. And knowing when to walk away will mean that you have credibility with that customer. Often they're very long-standing customers you do other business with, but they will respect the fact that you're honest with them and you tell them it's not right for you if that's the case. So, summarizing what we can do with this and making success of VDI is really understand what the customer is trying to achieve. Don't go to them with a product. Go to them and ask them what challenges they're facing, what they're trying to achieve, not only today, but strategically going forward. Get alongside that customer, help them through that relationship. When I talk about VDI as being a solution, not a product, it's absolutely right, but it must always be thought of as a consulting engagement and not a sales engagement. And perhaps to demonstrate this, we don't have a single salesperson in our organization. There's nobody tasked out there with selling. It's consultative, and through strategic partnership with resellers like yourselves and key technology vendors like Fujitsu that we have that credibility in the market. Doesn't mean that they shouldn't be sold to, of course they should, but it must be done in a consultative way based on their needs. You only have one chance to make VDI a success. It's very easy for customers to lose faith in that. Getting the architecture right is fundamental. We, a number of years ago, were called into an environment in the Middle East to rescue it because it had gone wrong, the project had stalled, and we analyzed the solution that had been proposed, and actually it was over-engineered, and this was for a 1,200-seat environment, so a reasonably sized one with multiple hardware underneath it. And we found that it had been over-specced by twice the number of servers actually required to make the environment function as required, because the solution had been designed actually by a distributor, not a reseller, and had been over-engineered because they didn't understand how to design the solution efficiently. So the cost implication onto that customer for twice the amount of hardware underpinning that was tens of thousands of dollars. So getting that architecture right is key to delivering real value, and bearing in mind that VDI is not cheap as a solution, is very important that you deliver it in an efficient and cost-effective way. As I've said before, POC is absolutely critical to success in this, and don't feel that you have to go for a big bang release in this, that a pilot of the technology or staged release of a full rollout are perfectly acceptable ways and often very well advised to guarantee success of the deployment. So there's just a slide showing, for those, there could be varied knowledge of VDI on the call today. So that's a very high level principal architecture of the layers that are involved in a VDI solution. It's going to vary enormously depending on the needs of the particular environment, and particularly the desktop access layer. If you're using multiple devices for access, it's not all going to be thin client, for example, as we have here. But the storage layer itself can vary wildly, and a lot of the time that will be determined by whether you're looking at a persistent desktop environment, which is very resource heavy in terms of storage, which drives up the cost per desktop. But if it requires that persistency in having permanent desktops for users or a proportion of users, going through to a disposable desktop or non-persistent desktop world where when a user logs off a session, the desktop is effectively thrown in the bin, and then when a new user or that same user logs on again, they're given a fresh one. That's less resource hungry, can have a different model in architectural design, that you can have local storage rather than an attached storage layer. But whilst we do have James on the phone to provide any architectural input, if you have questions on that, I'm not going to go any further, otherwise I'll get into an awful lot of trouble. But that gives you an idea of the technology that's involved in a VDI solution and what underpins it. Each of these layers is critical. Getting one of those wrong can destroy the functionality of the solution and destroy the credibility of it. So There are just a few elements that need to be considered at each of those points, which is why it really is a complex area, because all of these are fundamentally interdependent. I will just highlight on the last one there, the end user requirements and your understanding of that before you start designing the solution, absolutely crucial to success. So I'm now going to just go on to talk about partnership in action, and this partnership is in two levels. One of it is a relationship with a key vendor, and the other broader part is our partnership and our partnership services that we deliver into the channel. We're obviously here as part of the Fujitsu Tech Community, and Fujitsu is a key relationship for us. My friends at Fujitsu, please close your ears now. We work with a lot of technology vendors. We are vendor agnostic. We're not tied to Fujitsu in any way, but we do have a very special relationship with them because of all of the reasons that we're seeing here. The technology provider itself has a global reputation. Everybody knows of Fujitsu. It's got a strong brand, a strong reputation in many markets across the globe. But until 2 and a bit years ago, we didn't work with Fujitsu. The vast majority of the technology that underpins a VDI solution is commodity hardware. We were working with normal culprits, HP, Dell, IBM sometimes, for the delivery of hardware underpinning our solutions. We had no need to look for another provider of x86 servers. However, with our work in the Middle East, we're increasingly seeing the presence of Fujitsu and hearing good things from our customer base out there. So we decided to pick up the phone, reach out and make contact with Fujitsu to talk about who we are, what we do, and what they could do for us. And we were delighted to find a Tier 1 vendor unlike any other in the marketplace. I say that the underpinning hardware is commodity, and it is. Everybody thinks that having their brand badge on the side of their server makes it better than everyone else's and usually want to charge more for it, but the reality is it's not. All of the technology out there is pretty much the same. However, all the technology that we will ever use in a solution must meet a minimum requirement of quality and the support that goes behind that. And Fujitsu build quality hardware. There's also an opportunity that with the breadth of Fujitsu's offering that we can offer on a solution where necessary or where requested a single vendor stack. Because storage is very often the key component of a VDI solution, often specialist storage is required in that, which means you're then blending the server layer technology and the endpoint device with technologies from other providers, which is absolutely fine to do. But we've had a number of very large customers, particularly in the public sector, who want to have a single vendor stack for the hardware that underpins the solution. And that's something that Fujitsu can offer. Fujitsu like to think of it as, you know, they can offer hardware to cover all the needs of the solution. Customers like to think of it, it's only one throat they need to choke if something goes wrong. But it depends on your perspective. But it is a key element to that. Fujitsu's technology also does blend in very nicely with other technologies, and we have that in multiple layers across our customer base. The most important thing, I think, for us is the collaborative partnership. Tier 1 vendors often only want to know how many boxes of theirs you're going to sell. It's not a very interactive relationship. It's not a very strategic relationship. And Fujitsu have shown themselves to be very different to anyone else we work with in that Tier 1 space. We have a genuine strategic relationship, which is one that we are enjoying worldwide. As I say, we're in 16 countries at the moment. We're working with Fujitsu in all of those territories. It's a key relationship for us. They have a flexibility around us as a specialist provider of expertise that they can still move and bend to meet our requirements and facilitate us in what we need as a partner rather than them dictating it as the huge global super corporate. We also have a very consistent experience across Fujitsu worldwide that you get the same message of collaboration and partnership and flexibility wherever we've worked with Fujitsu across the globe. Understanding of that added value has meant that the value that we add into the relationship is recognized and we also recognise what Fujitsu brings to us as a tier 1 vendor, and there's a mutual relationship that goes behind it. It's enabled us to accelerate our growth as a business worldwide. We were already working globally when we found Fujitsu, but they've enabled us to accelerate that growth and connect with more partners and more customers around that ecosystem. So it's not all one-way traffic. Fujitsu gives us a lot, but we also provide value into Fujitsu and the wider Fujitsu ecosystem. We have industry-leading expertise in VDI. This is what we do. This is our business, and we are very, very good at it. What that means is whether we're providing direct work to customers using Fujitsu technology, or whether we're working collaboratively alongside resellers such as yourselves, we provide a safe pair of hands for their technology. It's the nature of customers, and particularly end users, that if they are experiencing technology problems, they look around to see whose badge is on the equipment and blame them for all its failings. And in VDI world, you have a thin client sat on somebody's desk and it has a Fujitsu badge on the side and the system isn't working properly. Everybody blames Fujitsu. Invariably, it's not Fujitsu or anybody else's hardware technology that's involved in this. It's usually poor architectural design and optimization in the back end. But of course, the reputation goes alongside what people can see and touch. So by working with us, Fujitsu gets that safe pair of hands, knowing that somebody with over 10 years track record and multiple sector experience is using their technology and cementing it alongside their partner base. We're also a flexible resource for them. They can pick up the phone to us anywhere around the world and say, Mike, can you and your architectural team help us out or help one of our partners out in this territory? And that's exactly what we do, multi-region. We have a broad spread of attendees today, for which I'm very grateful, and we're more than happy to support you in your regions and alongside your Fujitsu channel managers and pre-sale partners by delivering this kind of solution. It's free PS. I know from my Fujitsu colleagues that the first question when they pick up to Fujitsu's internal professional services, they're asked for a cost code. We don't charge for our professional services either to Fujitsu or to you. It's part of the investment in that partnership that we provide, and I'll go on to talk more about our relationship with other channel partners and how we work in detail in a few slides' time. We're a channel partner enabler. This is part of what today is about, and other activities that we do around the globe is that we've got expertise that can underpin Fujitsu partners around the globe and help them develop lines of business around virtualization, keeping Fujitsu at the heart of that VDI solution because of their collaborative working practices and our expertise working alongside you. That three-way partnership yields real benefits, and I'll demonstrate that to you as we go on. So the partnership in action, how does it actually work? Our expertise is sought by vendors and partners. And actually, when we started our business, we didn't have a partner model, but now actually half of the business that we do around the globe, including in the UK, is actually done alongside other partners like yourself. We work collaboratively together. It's done in a non-competitive way and very much a shared revenue model. And I'll talk in detail about that economic model, although it's very simple, in a few slides' time. But it's important to remember that we're not here to take other people's business. We're here to help you deliver business to your customer base alongside you when you need that help, and also the same for Fujitsu. It's available to anyone, anywhere. There's no exclusivity. I was asked by one of our partners in the Middle East once if we would sign an exclusivity agreement. I said that you can make us exclusively yours, and I told them that the way you can do that is you make us too busy to work with anyone else, and they're trying their very best at the moment. But it's free technology and free skills available. The first person to bring us an opportunity is the partner that we will work with in its delivery. So it's first come, first serve, and the same terms for everyone. We're always looking for new partners, and it's a great opportunity, I hope, here to explain who we are and what we do, and hopefully that will resonate with some, if not all of you, that there could be opportunities that we can explore around how we can work together further. If it's a one-off deployment, it's not a problem. Full desktop offering, we can develop a strand of business for ongoing work, is entirely up to you and your needs, and we're more than happy to work with both. It's very easy for us to work anywhere with you, and we'll be led by your requirements and your strategic plans for your business as to how you'd like to work with us. And don't forget as well that we can help with existing environments and projects, very often ailing solutions or solutions that have come to their end of life and they need to move on. We can be drawn into those and help with the architectural and strategic planning for those solutions. This is what we do. We deliver professional services and support on all aspects of the desktop and associated technologies. It's not just the design and the delivery of these solutions, which we will do, but also we will manage them on your behalf going forward, providing the necessary second and third line technical support to those solutions. It means working with us, that you have a day one capability, that if you like what you've heard today, we can have a conversation, and then actually tomorrow or this afternoon, you can go out and have confident conversations with customers about VDI, knowing that you have us sat behind you to deliver that capability. By adding this to your portfolio, if you're not already offering VDI solutions or you want to expand your capability, it means that you're securing that customer relationship. They don't need to go to another provider to start asking for different levels of technology. It's another string to the bow that you can offer. Our track record is available to you, our reference customers, and we have a wide range of reference customers across the globe. As a partner of ours, you have access to those. So a prospective customer wants to talk to somebody about the technology and working with Qatar, then we will give them access to our case studies, to our reference sites, and that's part of the value that we add into your environment. Because we are virtualization specialists, and this is all we do, we stay at the cutting edge of the technology. We will always alert you to the technologies that are coming, what the best things are for your customer base and the evolution of that technology without you having to spend all the time trying to keep track of this technology directly yourselves. This means that because we don't charge for what we do, it's only chargeable when the customer starts paying, is that we're a low risk, low investment opportunity to develop desktop business. You don't have to go out and try and train staff, recruit staff, retain staff around this. You can work with us. Consider us an extension of your own team that you don't have to pay the salaries for, and there's a highly profitable business model that goes behind it. There's a nice red section on there which is really, really important to the way in which we need to work in a collaborative way. The early engagement and the level of detail of information is absolutely crucial. You'll be surprised the number of partners that ring us up and say they have to put in a solution design tomorrow, and they just have a seat number that they want to achieve, and they want a VDI solution designed. It's not as simple as that, which is why it still is very complex and needs specialist knowledge. So please, that early engagement in any opportunity or potential opportunity is absolutely crucial. And as much information as you can provide us, and we will work with you to help draw that out, is going to make everybody's life a lot easier. So here's the detailed look at the services and the different elements that we can provide to you. The pre-sales, the demos, the tender responses, all of that can be done in a variety of ways, whether it be us dialing into your customer, having conversations with them about that and effectively acting on your behalf is one way. Alternatively, you may have a group of customers that you think will be interested in VDI, and we could organize a demo and seminar. We'd fly over to you to do that and provide that kind of service. So effectively treat us as your resource, but we can cover all of those different elements. The POC element I've got on there, we do have a range of POC capable hardware that we do move around the world to support the partners that we work with, but we would encourage you, and we can work alongside you in this, to, if this is a line of business that you want to develop or expand upon, is that we'll work with your in-country Fujitsu colleagues to get access to the right POC kit. Fujitsu are very supportive in facilitating this because they see the value. And we can work together to find out the best way to have a POC kit that's available for deployment in your territory to your customers, but we will help with that design. As I say, we will do the design, implementation, and the ongoing support of these environments, so you don't need to worry about the technical capability and resources that go behind it, because we'll do that alongside you. So here's the economic model. It's one slide. It's very, very simple. Our services are made available to you as the partner. The customer remains yours. Contractually, they're yours. Our relationship is with you as the partner. We don't charge for our partnering services, so if we were going to come over and talk to you face-to-face about developing this business, which is part of my role, or whether we're actually delivering seminars, demonstrations, POCs, whatever's necessary that's done by the rest of the team here, we don't charge for that ordinarily. If you need an engagement on a project as part of consultancy, there may be, but we're very flexible. But in our normal partnering model, there is absolutely zero cost to working with us. It's our investment in that partnership. We do the solution design, specification of the hardware and the licensing that needs to underpin it from the virtualization perspective. You acquire that through your local distribution in the normal way, and all of the margin is yours. We don't take anything from that at all. We tell you what to buy, you go and buy it. We then price our professional services delivery to you as the partner at 80% of the normal retail price that we would. So a customer never pays more than they would, so there's no additional cost to a customer by having us into the mix. And it means that you can then mark up what effectively then becomes 25% on our professional services, not just on the implementation of the solution, but also on the annual support for that as well. You just sit back and watch the magic happen and take the money and look after that customer relationship. That front-end customer relationship that's so important is where that value is where you as the local partner add that in. I put on there that it's fixed price. We know how to design these solutions. We know how to implement them. We give you fixed price solution delivery and support on these so that you can pass that on with price certainty to a customer without spurious consultancy days appearing and prices escalating. We take the risk on overrunning cost-wise on that, but we are absolutely confident, and we've never overrun on projects, that the price that you will get for that implementation is both competitive and fixed, so that the customer has that price surety. I want to talk so you can get a real granular view of what partnering with Qatar means. We have dozens of partners all around the globe, but I want to highlight one of our partners who is a partner of ours in the Middle East, a business called CNS, who we've been working with for a few years now, and they're good friends of ours. In fact, our managing director and technical director are both out with in the Middle East at the moment with this partner in the development of some business, and I'll give you an idea of what that shape that takes. We started the relationship with CNS because Oracle, who were providing a full end-to-end solution, both with the virtualization and the hardware, through Oracle VDI, now discontinued, and they looked to us as their global leading delivery partner. They had a problem with a customer in the Middle East, a prominent university, that had gone very badly wrong. Badly designed, badly implemented, and a very, very angry customer. Oracle themselves couldn't solve the problem, so they rang us and asked us to get involved. We reviewed the situation, understood what the problems were and how we could fix those, and put a proposal together for the partner and the customer and Oracle to say, we can fix this and this is what it means. The customer, given their historic bad experiences with VDI, the local partner and Oracle technology themselves, were a little reluctant to just commit without digging a bit further. So all of those parties flew over from the Middle East to the UK to meet with some of our existing customers using that technology to understand what their experience was, both with the technology and working with us. And I'm very pleased to say that they were very happy with what they saw and agreed to go forward. So we rescued the solution. Most of it was done remotely, although we did appear in territory from a relationship basis. And we brought the solution around to one that was functioning and is now a case study of the technology. As Oracle fallen out of the market and the solution has evolved over the years, it's now migrated from Oracle VDI to a VMware View solution, and actually we've migrated it from Oracle hardware to Fujitsu hardware now, and that underpins the solution. It's also, as I said before, been a land and expand technology. It's now nearly 1,000 desktops from a few hundred that was the initial deployment. And they're one of our most loyal customers and personal and family friends of ours now because of the service we've been able to provide. But wider than that, it gave us the opportunity to sit down with CNS and discuss how we could work together to avoid the kind of problems that we'd encountered with this one occurring and actually drive forward. And we were delighted that CNS saw the opportunity here, and it's now put them in a market-leading position in Oman, particularly, where they operate in UAE and Oman, and we have deployments with them in both territories, but we've got a real focus on the Omani market at the moment, and they're now recognized as Fujitsu's go-to partner in territory for this technology, and the Qatar CNS relationship is recognized right throughout the region as the place to go for VDI. CNS were not a Fujitsu partner. We introduced them to Fujitsu, and that's been able to cement the relationship. So we've been able to add value to Fujitsu by onboarding this partner for them, and it's been able to facilitate business growth for CNS in the region and make the Omani element particularly very, very successful. What does that success look like? Well, it's important that you understand what this has meant to them as a business, and this is just one of our partners around the globe. So we now have 7 major deployments in territory with our friends at CNS, covering those sectors. So there are potential. Oil and gas is another one, and we have a lot in development in that. But the technology works in any sector. So whatever sectors you're working in, there is great potential. What we've been able to deliver to date from a hardware and licensing perspective, so this is purely outside of our professional services element and what CNS have made, we've delivered with CNS £1.4 million worth of hardware and licensing. And this is business they could not have done without us. They simply didn't have the expertise. So we've been able to add £1.4 million worth of revenue to their business in the time we've been working with them. And as I say, we have some of our top team in territory at the moment. In delivery or pre-delivery, we've got another 850,000 going in now, and that's guaranteed. And then we've got another £1 million pipeline alongside CNS as well. So I hope that sort of shows the kind of potential that a partnership between us, you, and Fujitsu can deliver. And we're really taking the region by storm at the moment, and we're looking to do that and help businesses that see the vision and see the benefits of this grow elsewhere. So that's it. I'm very, very grateful to you for the time that you spent, and I'm conscious that in a webinar environment, it's very much me just talking at you. We'll be able to see what questions have come up, but really the invitation is to invite you to engage with us and Fujitsu in this collaborative model. There's great potential to do business here. We are looking to expand both territorially and through our partner base, and we want Fujitsu and that relationship to be at the heart of it. So I would invite you to reach out to me, either through Tech Community or directly my details here. If you want to investigate further, have a further conversation about how we could work together, what it could look like for you and your customer base. So thank you very much for that, and I'll hand back to George, who will lead me through any Q&A that we've